So as Lewis mentioned, our firm, Command Partners, merged with Inventus to form Inventus Partners. I know it's really creative on the name side, but basically it's completely synergistic for us to combine forces to be able to bring crowdfunding to market with the product innovation that Lewis and his team have been able to do over the last 16 years. So a little background now on Inventus Partners and our agency, Command Partners. So we merged in the middle of last year. To date now, we just crossed over about $105 million over the last 5 years in terms of capital raised using crowdfunding, Kickstarter and Indiegogo. So over that period, we've done 13 individual $1 million plus campaigns, more than any other agency in the world. We've built a community now of over 2 million people that have backed a Kickstarter campaign that we marketed. So this is about 10% of the entire crowdfunding universe that has backed a campaign. And I'll touch on some of the stats in this presentation. But in terms of our capabilities, obviously now with the merger between Inventus and our agency, we're completely turnkey to be able to not only design and prototype, manufacture, and fulfill, we can now market, brand, tell the story, create the video, and bring these products to market. So in terms of the agency side, again, more on the digital side where we handle anything from crowdfunding to Facebook advertising, web development, paid search, SEO, digital marketing, PR, and social media. So we can cover every single gamut for our campaigns and clients when they come to us. In terms of the overall basics, this kind of sums it up in terms of the Wikipedia quote, the collective cooperation and attention and trust by people. They pool their money together, whether it's for a cause, for a product, for an idea, for a campaign, whatever it may be, soliciting pledges online, usually using the wisdom of the crowd to get, generate interest, whether it be through pledges or donations, typically. So the types of crowdfunding, there's about 4 main types of crowdfunding. Our agency focuses on the top 2, reward and equity. Obviously there's donations and loans. Kickstarter being the largest platform, generates about 30 million unique visitors a month. Indiegogo on the reward side, right about 10 million. And then Start Engine and WeFunder are basically the 2 equity platforms that we work most closely with. In terms of the basics on the crowdfunding side, these are the things that we look at in terms of, is the product a good fit for crowdfunding? Not every product's a good idea for crowdfunding or a good fit. We've seen that software has a difficult time crowdfunding as well as mobile apps. Very difficult to crowdfund there. Unless you have a pre-existing user database where you're launching version 2, 3, 4, it's difficult to generate awareness for it because people are willing to wait for something like that, whether it be an app or a software, until you actually build it out, get it into market, then they're willing to put their money down. Creating rewards that matter. Obviously, crowdfunding is all about the product and getting the product hopefully at a deep discount, because you're buying the product, without being able to touch it, feel it, experience it, rub it on your face, so to speak. So we need to make sure that the product, is a good fit, and the price of the product is actually matters to the consumers that we're targeting. And that goes back to what Lewis was saying in terms of focusing in on who your actual target market is and really having an idea of who those people might be and how we can find them. And I'll talk about that later. Having realistic funding goals. Again, we see a lot of campaigns that set super low funding goals and then blow out those numbers but fail to deliver product even though they hit their funding total. So for us, we want to make sure that we set realistic funding numbers to actually bring a product to market. It's not cheap, as all of you inventors know, so we want to make sure that we set a realistic expectation not only to the backer but to the community that this is realistic and this is the number that we're trying to hit. PR goes beyond public relations. It's really the people, the network that you have here, and the relationships that they may have. When you share a project out there, or the anticipation of a product getting launched, making sure that you're talking to your community, asking for feedback. Is this something you would buy? How much would you pay? Etc. That really ties into making sure that you launch a campaign. Social media, obviously, it's everywhere now. So making sure that the shareability of your project is there. Having stretch goals. So if you reach an extended number, say you set your funding goal at 50K and you raise 100K, do you introduce a new color? Do you introduce a new feature? Making sure that you have stretch goals in mind when you launch these campaigns out is critical, so that people will not only keep sharing it, but also try and share it with their friends, so that when it does edge near those stretch goals, that they actually get the additional features that you're potentially going to introduce into the product. Paid media, you have to have it now. You have to pay to play to get your project out there, at least, and build an audience around it. So a significant amount of our budget now goes towards Facebook advertising. You have to feed the beast, and Facebook right now is the main engagement platform for all of our campaigns in terms of where we spend the most dollar amount. And then friends and family. Certainly, we hope that our friends and family actually back our projects and pledge once we launch them. So this is an old image, but it still rings true. Crowdfunding is ubiquitous around the world. There have been over 250 countries, I believe, that have launched a campaign. Now, Indiegogo certainly has a more open platform in terms of launching campaigns, where Kickstarter only has a dozen or so countries that allow campaigns to launch in. But basically, campaigns have launched all around the world, and they've been backed all around the world as well. So these were stats recently this morning. I pulled this screenshot just from Kickstarter. So they've done nearly $3 billion in transactions through their platform. Over 120,000 successful projects. Right now, this is the universe that we're dealing with. In terms of 12 million people have actually backed a crowdfunding campaign on Kickstarter. Super small amount of people. What really we're focusing on is these guys, the 4 million people that come back and keep backing projects and innovations on there. So as I mentioned, we've got about 2 million people in our community, and the majority of those people are repeat backers. They keep coming back for new innovations on Kickstarter. In terms of projects and dollars, Kickstarter has this on their website of all of the stats. Every single day this gets updated. So if you look at the success rate of all the campaigns in total, we're under 36% of all campaigns actually hit their funding goal. On the next slide, I'll show you some more stats, but you can see some of the top categories in terms of how they rank. The interesting one here is the technology category. Only 20% of technology campaigns actually meet and exceed their goal. Extremely low, the lowest on here. If we look at those projects, again, the 120,000 that are actually successful, you can see that the most campaigns are actually in more of the art, the film, the publishing, the creative side of things, where technology is way down here, and the design category, the main two that we focus on, are almost on the lower end. In total, we can see here that almost all projects raise under $10,000, more than half. And then, even at $20,000. Once we get above the 100K mark, there's only been a few thousand products that have actually raised over $100,000. We've had about 400 of those, and out of the million, the $218 million plus, we've done 13 of those. So it just goes to show that not every project can be successful. Most of them only raise a low amount of capital, whether it be to film, fund their music project or their film project, whatever it may be. But the categories that we focus on, we try and raise a significant amount of capital for, because it takes a lot of money, obviously, to bring these products to market. So I'll give you guys a little history lesson. This is basically the first crowdfunding campaign ever. So back in 1885, Joseph Pulitzer crowdfunded the plinth, and basically to build the Statue of Liberty on this base. We needed a place to put it. All these other cities basically said that they would fund it, but New York said they didn't have enough money to do it. So Pulitzer took it on himself to basically crowdfund the building of this base, the plinth. So what he did was use his newspaper, the New York Daily World, I believe it was, to solicit pledges, and it's the story of the fund. And basically every day he would put in here how much capital came in. They mailed money in, nickels, dimes, dollars, whatever it may be. So they would continually update this in terms of how much money they were raising, and then in terms of a reward, you would get a small token of basically bringing this plinth to life. So back in 1885, kind of Joseph Pulitzer put this together, and he still, mentioned this as his greatest achievement outside of the Pulitzer Prize. So in terms of our agency, we really have focused on rewards-based crowdfunding over the last 5 years. Being an industry leader in this, in terms of one of the first movers in it, we've done tons and tons of projects in terms of the design, in the technology space, and we've been growing more in the fashion industry as well, as we're seeing good success there. Anybody familiar with this campaign, the potato salad campaign? Yeah, so Zach Danger Brown basically crowdfunded a measly $10 funding goal to actually make potato salad. So there was some genius behind Zach launching this campaign. He launched it on the day that the search query for potato salad is the highest. Anybody take a guess on what day that might be? The day before the 4th of July, exactly. So really smart in terms of when he launched it, got a ton of press, ton of PR. 7,000 people basically gave him about $10 to, make potato salad. So he ended up shipping the potato salad out and then donated all the rest of the money to local food banks in his area of Columbus, Ohio. But Kickstarter has since changed their rules. You can't crowdfund potato salad anymore, unfortunately. But again, just goes to show you that you could have crowdfunded anything. Coolest Cooler, kind of one of the bigger campaigns that's out there. This is a testament to what Lewis was saying, that one person shouldn't make the decisions on a product. I passed on this. Ryan came to us and said, oh, we'd love to work with Command Partners. And it's like, your idea is dumb. So I passed on it. But needless to say, he actually failed his first campaign. He launched it in the middle of winter, thinking that people would have the foresight to receive the product in the summer when they were going to use it, but nobody was thinking about summer in the middle of the winter or when they were going to be using this $300 cooler. So he relaunched it in the middle of the summer. Obviously, he had great success, but now he's having a lot of difficulty if you followed along with the campaign in terms of actually shipping and delivering product. I fortunately have one, but there's tens of thousands of people that don't have one yet, and I still think it's a pretty dumb idea. But whatever, Ryan, whatever. Another example of a campaign that actually continued to raise capital by engaging their community. Pebble crowdfunded their first watch, engaged the community, got a bunch of feedback, did it again, raised more money. Unfortunately, a lot of mismanagement with the funds and the company itself, and had to sell. But again, a large campaign that continued to re-engage, in terms of the tech side. This is the most funded Indiegogo campaign ever, the Flow Beehive, ingenious idea by, I think, a father and son team in Australia. Basically, it's honey on tap. So you just twist the honeycomb, it flips over, the honey falls out, the bee comes back and says, oh, I thought I filled this up with some honey. I guess I'll redo it. And boom, you got honey on tap. So, over $12 million. This thing had, 37,000 backers all around the world. We need to save the bees, so this campaign was well timed and, executed very well and, went crazy on social media. This is an example of a donation-based campaign. Anybody familiar with Karen, the school bus monitor? So this poor lady in upstate New York basically just sits on the bus every day to make sure the kids get home safely. These two little brats basically tormented her the entire way home and of course filmed it and published it on YouTube. And she is just in tears by the end of this thing. So somebody saw the video, was like, let's get Karen off the school bus. So they posted it, launched the campaign on Indiegogo. The crowd raised over $700,000 for her to basically retire and get gone. So, it's just incredible, in terms of what you can do with crowdfunding and building things out. Oculus Rift, again, another campaign, raised $2.5 million. And then basically Zuckerberg was like, oh, this is a cool company. I'll give you $2 billion for your technology. So all the backers were kind of upset. And I'll jump into this in terms of the equity side of crowdfunding. So basically, if you had spent $1,000 on this headset when it got sold to Zuckerberg, that $1,000 investment, if it was an equity investment, would have been worth about $150K. Incredible. So a couple campaigns that we've done. This is the world's first autonomous drone. Crowdfunded, did $1.3 million. Flash memory product called GoKey. Basically, handle it around. You can do a lot of things. Another $1 million campaign that we did. This was an $80 product. Talked about Josh Malone. So we did the campaign for Josh. Josh came to us with this idea, had zero presence, no social media. Nobody knew about Josh or his product or his innovation. And basically he's a father of 8 down in Texas, wants to have water balloon fights with all of his kids, but obviously he didn't want to spend all of the time tying water balloons and not having fun. So the inventor that Josh was created this product, fills up the water balloons, and boom, you have water balloon fights all day. So we crowdfunded his campaign, did about $1 million in the raise. It was the 7th most backed campaign back in 2013 or 14 when we ran it. Obviously, we grew his social media quite significantly, overfunded his campaign, got him a ton of media coverage everywhere, known to man basically. Got him on Good Morning America. He was the first active campaign ever to get on national television. We got him on the Today Show within 3 days. That segment alone netted him about $300K in backers and had a lot of fun. So once the campaign was over, one of the larger toy manufacturers in China, Zuru, basically licensed his technology, won the Toy Award when it came out, shipped about 100 million units so far to date. Another campaign that we did, Rocketbook, this really interesting innovation. I know I'm kind of short on time. This is our most recent $1 million campaign that we did. Polygons. Basically it's a flat measuring spoon. So this inventor in India basically was challenged by his friends to reinvent the spoon. A noble task, and he did. So he came to us with no money whatsoever. He's like, Roy, I'm an inventor, I'm broke, help me out. So we worked with him in terms of how to structure things and get some skin in the game. Did over $1 million for it. It's now one of the top 20 most backed campaigns ever. And Josh is now, I'll actually get to meet him next week. He's flying over from India to meet with us and come to our Charlotte office. So I'm really excited about that. I think he's the first millionaire ever from India to crowdfund a product. So really exciting stuff. You probably can't see this graph because it's probably blinded out, so I'll skip it. But anyways, that was the growth of the campaign in terms of what we did. Obviously, a lot of our campaigns hinge on Facebook advertising. The monthly active users continuing to grow. The daily active users, it's ridiculous. 262 million Americans log into Facebook every single day. It's crazy. We're all there every single day. The growth plans for Facebook basically, and we're talking billions of users now basically, and millions of users using virtual reality headsets. So the growth and the trends are basically all there. It's all video. Everything right now for us on the engagement side, it's Facetube. It's Instagram Live, it's Snapchat. We're watching videos all day. This is the main form of engagement that we're doing now in terms of social media. So it's a main focus of what we're doing and when we launch campaigns. Facebook video now has its own tab basically to launch video out there and keep engagement, keep people on Facebook for as long as possible. Video does that. It's incredibly sticky. Zuckerberg last month basically said everything Facebook is focusing on is shorter form content in the form of snackable video pieces. This is what we're focusing on, for all of our crowdfunding campaigns and all of our products that we're launching out. If Zuckerberg says it, might as well go and do it. You guys probably can't see these either. So these are examples of campaigns that we took over that they've actually launched and then we promoted using our Facebook ad intelligence and our networks. And basically a lot of these campaigns were able to double, triple, quadruple. This one we quintupled their funding with only a week or so to do it. Moonlight we just finished. They had raised $175K in a month and then we raised another $175K in the final 7 days. So again, this campaign had done about $500,000 on their own. We took over the last 2 weeks and raised another $1 million for them. Again, Crowdfunding Stats. It was a $7 billion industry back in 2013. It's continued to double year after year. Now this is compiling not only reward-based crowdfunding, equity-based crowdfunding, but also real estate-based crowdfunding. So it's continuing to go on the rise. Our agency now is working with a lot of equity crowdfunding platforms and a lot of equity crowdfunding companies to hopefully that we reward crowdfund their product, build a community, build a user base, and then we can go into equity where you can actually own a piece of the company now of the product that you've actually invested into. So it allows everybody to publicly fundraise. You can get capital from anybody basically, turn them into not only buyers of the product but evangelists and investors into it. So a case study that we've just recently done, Digits, basically we designed, marketed, did everything for them. It's the #1 equity crowdfunding campaign in the world. It's been there for about 6 months now. We just crossed over $11 million in terms of reservations. So if you go on CNBC and their crowd finance index, you can see that the campaign, is taken off. Basically, we were able to bring in Kevin Harrington from Shark Tank as the lead investor, and everybody wanted to invest inside of a shark. So, it kind of took off from there. So the American dream, go build a product. I challenge you guys. You guys are the builders of everything. So keep building product. I'll keep marketing it. And thank you again for having Lewis and I.